Okay, hello everybody. My name is Wayne Crosland, and I'm here today to present today's webinar on payroll inside your NetSuite account. So today's webinar is scheduled to run for 30 minutes. First 5 minutes will be on who Infinet Cloud is, followed by a high-level overview of some of the common issues experienced by NetSuite customers who use a third-party payroll system or outsource their payroll, and how we will address these. Followed by a 20-minute live demonstration of our payroll suite app inside NetSuite, ending with a 5-minute question and answer session. So if you do have questions, please post them in the chat box at the bottom of the screen. So the founders of the company previously worked for NetSuite out of Maidenhead in the early 2000s and identified back then that there was no on-platform payroll solution for NetSuite. So they subsequently formed Infinet Cloud in Australia in 2009 and expanded into the New Zealand and UK jurisdictions. So we have UK-based support and implementation teams supporting our UK customer base. We have over 700 customers globally who are supported by our Cloud team. We're part of the Suite Developer Network, where we're one of the original members who joined back in 2010. And this means that we are certified, tested, and held accountable by NetSuite. So we only work with NetSuite. In 2014 and 2020, NetSuite recognized us, Infinet Cloud, with the Global SDM Partner of the Year Award. And you'll notice on the right a reference to suiteapp.com. So that's where all the partners that develop applications for NetSuite live. Suiteapp.com is the NetSuite SDN partner website. And supporting NetSuite's Partner Awards, our customers have also made us the highest rated native Suite app globally. So I do encourage you to find us there and read the references. These customers have all been through the payroll journey. And we put a lot of effort into our implementation and ongoing support to ensure that all of our customers are happy and have gained the most out of the Infinet Cloud Payroll Suite app. They're all referenceable and happy, and we're more than happy to introduce you to them at the appropriate time. So here are some of our customers in the UK. We have customers ranging from manufacturing, from finance, through to R&D. There's insurance companies in there. Very horizontal application, and range in size. Our smallest is 10 employees. Our largest is 3,200 employees, which is Evelyn Partners in the middle there, or ex-Tilney Smith & Williamson. So what are the common issues faced by NetSuite customers? Well, payroll is often a separate system or process to the core finance system. This means that they have to be connected in some fashion in order to keep their individual data sets up to date and accurate. This means your staff will need to have multiple skill sets to manage each system. And if one of those key members were to leave, you could end up with a big gap in the processes. And this causes the following issues. So you have a much higher admin cost across your multiple systems. You'll have too many manual processes that increase the chance of errors, in turn, a lot of inefficiencies in the payroll process. You'll have difficulty in producing detailed and accurate to-the-penny real-time reports, as the data has to come from multiple sources. You'll have to import journals that won't have the detail into your core finance system and will only be available once the entire pay run process has been completed and reconciled. So why do customers choose Infinet Cloud? Well, firstly, and most importantly, because we are on platform using NetSuite's single unified database. It's one system. Being on the platform means that we're able to leverage NetSuite's full functionality in an environment already familiar to the payroll and finance teams, using those NetSuite skills we have built up over time. We'll automate and streamline many of the manual processes that previously existed, reducing that chance of human error whilst being a lot more efficient. We seamlessly interact with the general ledger and create the required payroll journals, taking full advantage of the NetSuite multi-dimensional database and classifications such as department, class, location, flowing these through into your chart of accounts. And I will show you that when we get to the live demo. So this allows us to create real-time and accurate detailed reporting on what is typically a business's largest operational cost alongside other key financial metrics. And the reasons NetSuite was chosen as the ERP are generally the same reasons we are chosen as well. As much as we're going to be talking about payroll running inside your NetSuite system, in many cases, customers actually use bureaus or outsource their payroll. So we do have another option, which is our managed payroll service. So what this means is that we install our software bundle, our payroll bundle, into your NetSuite account, but we run the payroll process on your behalf. So you're going to gain the accurate, detailed, and real-time reporting benefits across your workforce costs. You're going to gain the benefits of using NetSuite, and you'll get the outsourced resilience and reliability of Infinet Cloud. So everything takes place within NetSuite. You're going to get the experts in payroll and NetSuite to manage your process. And if you want to look at the costs, then we're happy to provide them a schedule of those at a later date. So before we move on to a live demo, I just want to touch base on a typical timeline of engagement process. So normally allow about 3 months of investigative time to look at the options that you have for payroll. But once a system has been selected, the project normally takes around about 12 weeks or 3 months from contract signing through to go live. That does vary depending on the complexity and size of the customer. Most companies prefer to implement a new payroll solution in April, which is the start of the new tax year, mainly because there is zero year-to-date information to contend with. But also bear in mind that May and June are also just as good, given that we conduct 2 parallels leading up to the go live, so that the 2 months of year-to-date data is taken care of as part of our implementation process. So now is about the right time to start investigating your options if you are considering replacing your payroll in the new year. So at this point, what I'm going to do, I'm going to move to my demo account, and I'm going to show you what it looks like inside NetSuite, some of the key records that we interact with in the pay run process itself. Okay, so here we're looking at the payroll administrator role, and you'll see here on the right that it is a roles-based system. Obviously, NetSuite, depending on what role you have. I'm in as the payroll administrator role. This is heavily permissioned, and only the payroll administrator can see the payroll information that I'm going to be showing you. So we're looking at through the eyes of the payroll administrator. So straight away, obviously, it looks like NetSuite because it is. It's 100% inside the platform. We conform to all of NetSuite's normal functionality, your global search criteria. You've got your favorites over here. You've got your recent records over here as well. And then we've got our menu structure here, which we're pretty much skinny down just to deal with payroll. Okay, so we're in the payroll administration screen here. Now, this is a demo system, so you're going to see some weird and wonderful figures because I run multiple pay runs each month. But I'm going to give you the idea of what we can do. First thing, over on the left here, you'll see a reminders portal. This is probably the most important part of your payroll administration screen. It is here that we'll see things like HMRC notifications for tax code changes that may come through throughout the year. You could see student loan updates as well popping through in here. You've got reminders. There could be tasks, or there could be time to approve. Could be employees to enroll. So this is what's going to keep you sort of up to date as to what needs to be actioned, as you go through your pay run process. If I open this up here on the right, these are all the links to the various parts within our payroll system. So virtually every aspect of our payroll system is controlled or can be controlled within here. Obviously, when we do a implementation, there are certain areas that we're going to be working in quite a lot with you. But if you look at some of the other areas, we've got a whole raft of reports in here. There's about 160 baseline reports in the system. They're all based on standard NetSuite saved searches. So wherever you see something like customize, it means there's a saved search. You can open it up, you can change the criteria, rename it, and save it, and then you've got access to it. All of these can also be accessed through the drop-down menu here. It's our goal to try and get into anywhere within the payroll system within 3 clicks. That will be optimal. I've got a scorecard here. As I said, it's a dashboard, so it may look completely different for you, depending on what you need to see from a payroll perspective. Here I've got just a basic scorecard, very high level, but I can compare gross pay, commissions. I can have a whole raft of other pay components in here that I want to compare. Could be national insurance contributions, pension. I can compare this month, last month, fiscal quarter, and so on. It just depends on what you want to see there. I've also got some processing notes down here, so I can add notes to employees so that when you do your pay run, you've got some context as to what may be occurring within that pay period. I've got some one-off notes for processing here. So I entered one before just for sort of demo. So Gary Drummond, he's getting a referral bonus this month, referring John. So I've just made a note of that so that you've got that in front of you. So when you run your pay run, you've got context as to what may be happening in this particular period. Moving down, I've got, I can access my employees, got a costing report here. So this is based on the last, or the figures of previous pay runs. See here, once again, all the NetSuite functionality just flows through. I can pick an individual pay run if I want. I can look at all of them. So it's really, it's just to give you that view. And remember that these are all based on save searches. Everything is exportable. You can print graphs and whatever you need to do to report this stuff to management and so on. We also have a leave management module as part of our software. So if you do want to have your leave managed through payroll, people taking holidays, annual leave, sick leave, all those sorts of things, that is also part of our software as well. And once again, over on the left here, I've got some scorecards as well. So it's the point I'm trying to make here is that when we work with you as part of the process, when we implement this, to make sure that we're giving you the information you need as a payroll administrator to understand what's going on your payroll for that particular period. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to move to the employee record. This is probably the key record that we interact with from a payroll perspective. So right in there. So I'm going to pick on Kevin. This is a standard NetSuite unified employee record. There's no difference. You'll have this in your system. What we've done is we've just added 5 payroll tabs down here. We've got payroll, tax info, super, which is pension, our leave management, and our payroll bank details, because we're going to create a bank file as part of the pay run process. These 5 tabs are only visible to the payroll administrator. Now, anyone else that's looking at an employee record won't see that information. Excuse me. So firstly, just want to touch on a couple of key things here. Obviously, we've got the name, salutation. We've also got the HR part, which is what's required for an enrolment into HMRC, and that is their birth date, their gender, and their hire date. So those bits of information, along with the address, go off to HMRC as part of the enrolment record. Now, what I want to just highlight here, first of all, we've got department class location classifications here. So straight away, we're seeing the interaction with NetSuite. This is where we're going to form the home bucket of costs for all of Kevin's payroll costs. And they will fall into those buckets there. And that's where we start when we start looking at how we divide up costs amongst those areas there. So that's the first area or first place that we're going to touch on with Kevin. Moving down, from a payroll perspective, are they full-time, part-time? Are they getting salary or wages? Which country they're in? Obviously, it's going to be UK. What pay frequency? So we support monthly, weekly, fortnightly, or weekly. When you have a working pattern, so how many hours do they work a week? It goes towards pro rata calculations. Do they get paid for the hours that they work? If they did, I'd have that box ticked over there. And we have an auto-enrollment, so we support auto-enrollment pensions. It came out a few years back, and we support most of the pension providers in the UK. Just make a note here, expense allocation. I'm going to come back to that because this is one of the important things that we can do is when we're looking at how we allocate costs across department class locations, sometimes we need to override those. Classic cases are above the line or below line costs or costs of goods sold or administrative overheads. When we get into that, I'll explain how that works. I could have a look at Kevin's last pay slip if I want, look at his enrolment record. But what I want to touch on is down here, which are the pay component subtypes. This is what makes up Kevin's remuneration. So you can see he's got literally everything going on here. He's got salary and wages. He's got some allowances, car allowances. He's got some childcare vouchers going on, some deductions in there, and whatever those amounts may be. But if you go to the far right over here, these are the default accounts that we're going to be posting those costs into. Okay. These are driven by our standard configuration when we set up the system. So the majority of the staff will have these set up for them. In Kevin's case, he is a director. Okay, so I actually don't want his costs going through to those normal codes down there. So what I can do straight away, I'll just go into the edit mode here. Okay, we go down to this director's allocation there. I'm just going to open a little jump box and have a quick look. What I'm going to do is instead now of posting to those codes, I'm going to override it based on Kevin being a director. Now, this could be cost of goods sold. So it's a good way of being able to group your employees without having to minutely control every single pay component into groups so that when you do your reporting, when you look at your P&L, you can have those broken out into the relevant sections. We can have a look at all of Kevin's previous pay slips. And then we can have a look at what's going to be on his payslip each period. That's driven by pay component subtype. It's here you'll make some ad hoc changes, one-off payments and those sorts of things there. Lastly, I will go over to what we call payroll expense allocation. This is another way of spreading Kevin's costs across different departments. So here, I've decided obviously that Kevin works 20% of his time in the warehouse, 10% in the support center, and 10% in the factory. So when we're creating our journals for the pay run, what we're going to do then is reallocate those costs based on those percentages. Now we can also do it on time. So if you do have staff that are working on projects or working in different departments and you're capturing that time and you want that to be reflected in the journals, then we can do that as well. So there's a lot of flexibility and functionality in the way that we can handle how we allocate costs to where we need to. So in terms of the pay component subtypes, sorry, I will go back to those. I'm just going to have a quick look at one here. So here we have pay component subtype lists. So there's about 183 of them in the system at the moment, but you can create them if you need to. I'm just going to pick on the bonus one here at the moment, because what I want to show you is the ability to be able to control these on a per pay component basis. So I can control where they're going to be posted. I can decide whether they're taxable, decide whether they're nickable. I can also create loans with these as well. So I can have reducing loans as well. And then once we've created the pay component subtype, then it's a very easy process to put in. Right, so what I want to do now is look at a pay run. So on the day that you need to run a pay run, you'll simply come into your system, and what you'll do is you'll go to a certain area here, which is, sorry, the right part, is our pay run. And what we'll do is we'll start a new pay run. So let's click on that. Then basically all I need to do is support one world multi-subsidiaries. We support adjustment runs as well. Choose a period, so I'm going to choose October. Okay, choose pay date. And then I've got a list of my employees down here. Now I've only selected a subset of those for purposes of the demo. So once I click submit, what it's going to do then, it's going to move to a stage-based process. So here we've started it. We're at the time and variables section here. So this is where I'm going to be looking at things like time. So if you're running a time and attendance system of any sort, we can import that time in, and that will appear in here as we run the pay run. I can come in these, I can edit these if I need to. That's what bearing mistake, for example, and then we'll do that. So let's assume we're happy with that. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to submit that. Now I'm going to move to the variable stages here. And these are other variable components. So bear in mind that a lot of variations could be already pre-approved before they get to the system. In which case you wouldn't need to approve them as part of the pay run process because the assumption is they are approved. But we do have the ability here to, to add extra components if need be. For example, Kevin's got a variable commission, and I can just enter that in here if I want. He's got some mileage and all sorts there. So very easy to do that. Once I've done that, once I've got my time and my variables into the system, what I want to do is just process those payslips. Okay, so when I do that, I go to the screen here, I click submit, process that. And what will happen is we'll get to a point where we've now got payslips that have been created. I've done all the tax calculations and whatnot. At any point in this pay run, I can return to the underlying data and I can have a look at reports. So once we've processed payslips, we have a whole raft of reports available to us. Some of the most common reports, obviously your pension report. So we'll create a pension CSV upload for you, make sure the format's all correct. You'll simply upload that into the appropriate pension portal. We've got some payment summary reports here, called gross to net. You can export these, you can look at all the various components, deductions, taxable amounts, all that. That's all in there. And then we have a variance report, for example. We're comparing last month versus this month. Okay. And we can even put alerts on there. So if there's something glaringly different between the pay for each month, we can have an alert there, which we can have a look at that particular person's pay. So as I said, all exportable. Once we're happy with that, then we can process those pay slips, get to the point where we can approve those. And once we've got to the point of approval, then what happens is we've got access to journals and those sorts of things here. So what I'm going to do is just open up a couple of journals. So we've got our processing journal here. We'll see the debits and the credits there. We've also tagged in the department class location classifications. We've also got some vendors that we've allocated against some of the payments that are going off the bank. We've created the bank payment there. And then we've got our payment journal here. So obviously it's very straightforward. Salary and wages going off there as well. So once we've done that, then we've got the journals. And as I said before, you can always roll back. Now, you probably don't want to roll back once you've got to the journal point, but prior to that, I can come in, I can remove a person from the pay run. I can change someone's pay component subtype within the pay run. So if there's something that needs to be changed last minute, we allow you to do that all the way up. We suggest you stop at the approval point, but we can roll back if you go past that as well. So once we've created the journals, we've got a bank file there that you upload into your bank portal. So we support most of the major banks. And then we'll get to the point of being able to submit to HMRC. And this is at this point here. So we posted, we paid. Once we press pay, we email the pay slips out to either personal email addresses or the pay slip will be published into the employee's NetSuite Employee Center license as well. And while we're at it, let's just have a quick look at that pay slip here. So one up. So when you look at someone's pay slip, there's two parts. So sure, we're going to have a look at the PDF version of it, but every payslip has a summary in it, so you can have a look at that. But we also show you all of the calculations that have occurred on that payslip. So if you did need to go back and have a look at it, we can. But let's have a look at the good old PDF. So this is a typical payslip. Now we've got various formats, and we can template it. We can put messaging up here. We can even display shifts. If you're doing hours that you work, you can put the day and the time that you worked on there. So you've got year-to-date information. You've got deductions. You've got any benefits in kind that are occurring, base salaries up there, year to date. So yeah, the payslip, we can make it as detailed as you want. So the last step we need to do, once we get to the point of payment, is initiate the FPS, which is the submission to HMRC. So we click on that. What it's going to do is wing its way off to the HMRC gateway. In this case is a test server. Okay, I can submit that. There's a couple of key things here I just want to highlight once that comes back. So first thing is we're going to get a GovTalk message that comes back. And that will give us the correlation ID for HMRC. So this is the exact submission. So if there's ever an issue with HMRC, we've got the raw data that we've submitted, and we've got the exact correlation ID that we used to reference that with HMRC. So once we've submitted that, we poll it, produce a little green box to say that the loop is complete. They've received our FPS. And then the last step is to create the EPS. do that. And that's to capture any statutory recoverables. In my particular instance, I don't think I have any recoverables going on in the system at this stage. So that would be your pay run complete, albeit a very, very short overview of what we are capable of. And at this point, what I'll do is I'll move back to our PowerPoint and invite you to ask any questions. Well, okay, there's no questions. Thank you very much for your time and hope you enjoy the rest of the day. If you do have any questions at all, please feel free to email us uksales@infinitecloud.com or myself, Wayne, at cloud.com. Once again, thank you for your time and enjoy the rest of the day.